Let's crack the music. And just setting up. Good morning from the UK, 2 AM. Let's put that a little smaller. Okay, so I'm going to do some dev tools today. I think I'm going to finish saving, being able to save the game engine. So if you want to see some fog effects, it might be a little further on in the video when I'm not live. We'll see. Let's have a look. So yeah, I'm pretty much set up, but sometimes take 2 minutes of tweaking. 1 2 1 2, mic looks good. And the last thing I did, so I had a night off yesterday. Wasn't feeling well. But the last thing I did was a tool here. I don't know why the normals are there, but a tool to save terrain data here. And all it will do is just save everything you see, the vertices, save it to the system, so I can load the terrain again after editing. Being the point. That'll do. Okay, let's save terrain data. Was it yes? We don't need the word data. That's for his coders. You don't need that word in the interface. All right. By the way, for anyone watching, I've just started the stream. If you say hi, it will just tell the algorithm to throw more people in the chat when they can see some action. That helps me, helps everybody. Okay, so these are the files, the functions that I wrote last. With some help, I hadn't looked at files for a while. And what I want to do is get up an LLM, ChatGPT, And we just need the reverse of these files. What I would do, so what these will do, for example, if we go to the first, they're all the same, just slightly tweaked. Save vector to file, and here are vertices. Apparently it didn't need to be cleared there. Pointer. What we have for any noobs like myself, really. Here we are, I think. No. What we have is all the vertices. This is the OpenGL calls, the API calls that basically take any data in vertices and send it to the GPU, get it ready to be rendered, to be drawn, to draw the world. So it has the coordinates of the triangles that make up. If you look at the top right of the screen, you can see the land being edited. And as you edit it and change it, you're going to save it. You want to save it. So that's all stored here, and we will save it to a notepad file on the computer. You restart the game engine, and we don't have a function that will load it. So we're going to look at that now. It should be really easy, but it might not be. Just because of workflow and errors and having not coded in some time. So we're going to do, we have 3 functions that save it, and we're going to do the reverse. But because I want this stream to really be about incorporating some fog, we're going to use ChatGPT just to reverse these functions. Which I think I already add up. These 3 functions save my terrain to notepad files, as I want to load the data, essentially to reverse them. I will keep the function parameter that takes a given file name. So what I will do, this will save as vertices.txt, normals and indices. Really, you should be able to choose how you save your file, because otherwise you can only have one save. It will always overwrite. But for now, I'll keep these as hard coded, and just to see that it works. Then the function, the tool is in the engine, and I'll just build on it a little bit as time goes on. Maybe we'll add an input box. You just choose the name of the save file or the name of the scene. Yeah, okay. King bent pins. I got a story about 200 bent pins for anyone who wants to listen. For anybody saying, what is he talking about? Look at the chat. Hey man, I told you my story, right? How's it going? Progress has been, I don't know when you was last here. I know it wasn't long ago, maybe. But I think I've seen you for just under a week. But good, yeah. I'm just going to tidy up this tool and finish it to save the engine, and we'll reload it. Okay, so what we want is, I will type one of these and I'll copy and paste the rest. That's the best way to do it. Just for anyone following along. It's been 2 or so, really. Wow. I think I've been streaming for 2 weeks and 2 days, like this time around. Yeah, I thought it'd been a minute. when you're streaming every day there for a few hours, it does blur a little bit. Hit like anyway, because anyone chatting and anyone liking tells the algorithm that it gives it more exposure to the channel whilst I'm live. Okay. I'm supposed to be shy and not ask people to do that, but we're not. Load vector from file. So I feel like I'm cheating because I forget how I constructed the vectors for vertices, but it was a GL float. I don't know why I used a GL float. I think it's just the same as a float, but that was what I did a year ago. And then a constant. So anybody who watched the last stream, you'll notice that last time we loaded last time we saved with the constant, so you couldn't change the data, because when you save in your progress to a file, you want it unchangeable, but here we're loading, and so you're going to add to the vector, you're going to add to the database of the triangles you're drawing, so it can't be constant, it has to be changeable. Does anybody else use some function so rarely that, you know, it's very easy, but you're still looking up, you're still looking it up? For me, file handling and stream operators is that sort of area. They fall in that category. Okay, so we're passing a vector, and is this the way to do it? Yeah, this is the way to do it. This is the way to do it. Making sure it's clear, because you could press the button at any time, really. Code front boot through all the pipes. Been dealing with that for a week just now on froze. Where are you based? Approximate, like, generally speaking. Also, what are you working on? I mean, I know you've just said you're not working on anything for now. Oh, I love a while loop. They just feel beautiful. Just the flow. Okay. So what we're doing, we are opening the file name that's given, which will be vertices. We're making sure it's open. We're clearing the vector to get it ready to receive the data. And then we're creating a float, which is the number, a value that will store the numbers. And then while is the loop, a simple loop, you know the loop. And then we're just emptying the file one bit of data at a time into the float, and then I guess we'll just override that. We'll put that in the vector that we've prepared, and this while loop will just go on and on until we get to the end of file. So vec dot push back the value. Else will be if there's an error. Always do error handling when you're dealing with opening and loading files or pictures, because it's good practice. File. Okay, and there's two other functions that are the same. I will type one more actually. Was it you that asked me the same question or a similar question? Also, welcome back. It's always good to see somebody come back. I appreciate it a lot. No, that's good. So C++ is really old, but it's still got life in it a lot. But I just feel like C is even older, and it's also still got life in it. Yeah. So Python, if it was you that asked about it, Python, you can get things done really quickly, and it's very enjoyable for that, especially as the first language. Okay, yeah, no, somebody asked this. C++ is a lot faster as far as how it will operate once it's finished, but it takes more to get things done. You have to type more to get the same end product. And then C is the next level of that. Like there were some things that I'm doing now that you couldn't do in C without making a lot more of the. You'd have to make build more. What would I say? You'd have to build more. You're building more tools within the language. You're laying a wider foundation. And you need to be a bit smarter for C++. But it depends how deep you go as well, and it depends what the end goal is. But definitely just code if you can get a bit of time in, and also even live stream, because you know if you just get one or two people chatting to you while you're going, it might just keep you motivated. Naturally, when I speak, I need to be loud, but I can't because it's so late. So if you can't hear me, that's why. Okay, load vect3. What was the vect3 for? What was I loading? Indices. I can't remember. Normals. Vector GLM. By the way, when we pass in this means we're going to receive the information by a reference. So when we edit it, it will edit that directly. It won't just make a copy. And constant. It doesn't really need to be constant. So last time it was OF stream, now it's I, because we're reading the file in from the operating system. So it's I. So we'll clear the vector, which is where we're going to store everything we get from the file, so we can reload the terrain. And you can do that as well if you're creating a float. You can just initiate, create free with a comma separator. Z. I need coffee. It uses other languages for the coding of the animation. Code the game mechanics it controls. That's really good. I would do a course on one of those languages maybe Python or C++ alongside what you watch, because it will overlook a lot of foundation things. Like when I used to stream, I used to tell people a lot more, but now I just assume people have a basic knowledge. I'm not really a teaching stream. Like I will talk about the concept, so you'll catch things and I answer any question. But I think people can watch me and I'll talk a little bit and they'll understand the concept and then they believe they can code. So it's sometimes it motivates people say, or it's just a good way to procrastinate. You watch someone else code, right? You still get the dopamine. Okay. So if the file was open, we're doing the same loop, and let me just check. Yeah, from the file, we will spill out or stream one object at a time. And then we will. I don't think there's many people in the chat at the minute, but I forgot the difference between place back and just push back. Also, I've not seen the word latency used about coding languages before, so I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure about the question. And the third function is the same, but just loading indices. No, we don't want that, because we won't know if it's saving it because we're pressing the button, or because that was saving the file every time we pressed a different button. Okay, so now what I need is we need another function to load terrain data. Load, let's see. Load vector from file, and then load load vec3, and then load indices. So if I have a button for save terrain data, so if I Control and C, copy that, and search for that button, then what I need is just another button to load terrain, and then load terrain data, and that will call those three functions that we wrote just here all together. But then the problem is, just because we've loaded them, we haven't sent that information to the GPU. So we have to call the render function. Let's have a look. No, was it generate? Draw, GL draw. Not that one, or that one, or that one. It's this one here. So terrain.render. Nope. It's definitely the generate function. What it is, we're looking for where the vertices are sent here. So it's in the create terrain mesh. Let's see, is it just that function? No, do we do it in the render function every time? That means we're sending. Oh, that's a center terrain. Okay, so I have another button that if I press center terrain, it will resend everything to the graphics card. So I'll try that. Well, it won't send the indices, so it will break, but we'll know that it's worked. And then I'll bring this code in, and we'll make it work nicely. Yeah, what's his bot doing? I made some bots a while back in Python, actually. It's probably the main thing I ever did with Python. Okay, so what I want to do is, so if I save this as it is, save terrain, and load terrain shouldn't do anything at the minute. It's loading it into the vectors, but it's not saving to the graphics card. So now I'll start changing things. And then when I press load, it should load how my terrain was a minute ago before I change things. So these should all go flat. There's a chance it might not work at the minute, but apparently, so I press load, which sends it to the graphics card. But then, no, load brings it into the vector. Then we need to press the button to send it to the graphics card, which was the center terrain button apparently here. Okay, did it work? It did work. We have flat terrain. Do we have flat terrain? Okay. However, I think that only sent the vertices and not the normals. Maybe the lights broke. So the sunlight needs to know the normals, the time of day. But yeah, so saving and loading is working, and all I need to do now, instead of pressing center terrain, we will just do it all with the load terrain button, so that it would do all of those things. Unless maybe it's not working, maybe it's hiding under the water. Have I spoken too soon? Let's remove the water in the grid. It's funny because I've only just added that tool to remove the water. Now you can see it's working. So I'll do that again. If I go to edit terrain mode, and just destroy the terrain, basically. And then press load, and then center terrain. Okay, so it's loaded. That's all come from a save file. It's not. I need to change the button from center. I need to put a button here. No, I'll put it on the load, but it's basically working. The top height train record holder on Twitch and top female streamer as an AI. I hope somebody give me a like for adding that terrain tool, by the way. Yeah, that sounds cool. Actually, I'm on Twitch as well right now. Let me just check. Yep, nobody's watching except me. But feel free to follow the same channel on Twitch, but only if you're going to come back. I already appreciate you following me on one. That's enough. Okay, so that button, that center button, when we was pressing it, that was to move the terrain to the middle, but it also was sending information to the vertices up to the graphics card. And presumably first it was binding VBO. So what I need is what we need is to send that and this. And the normals. Why are we generating buffers? Do I need to generate those? No, I don't think I do. No buffer. Actually, it doesn't matter as long as it knows where it's. What was the button? Save, load terrain. I have a fly on stream. Yeah. This is a bit messy. I could do this in a function, to be honest. And I don't use color, but in case I ever do use colors, I will just keep it. So the terrain instance gives me access to the engine. So I will comment out all the color stuff, I think, after. Okay, it's not working, so I have to see is. I can just go. By the way, there's a mix of a few languages here, so if it looks a bit much, don't be put off. Like when I first saw this, it was way beyond my ability. need to bind the shader. Must have played them when he was a kid. And just stuff background shit. It's fun to watch. Yeah. I did. You're surprised I'm getting into it? What do you mean? You mean because I'm a bit older? If it's that, like, always be learning, don't matter how old you are. And I think if you're gonna learn something, coding, do something that's fun. If you're gonna be on one project for a year to learn, like people make some boring stuff. Okay, first I'm just gonna save and load just to see if the button works. Ah, I get you. Yeah. I didn't know that. There's just so many. There always seems to be one coming out, but you don't hear much about them necessarily. So you think there's not been so much hype. So it's probably not good. But then the ones that do have hype are even worse. But yeah, it does feel like a field, right, where it's like it's had its moment to shine, and then I don't know what the last good MMO was, like a really good one. Okay, so that loaded. Now what I want to do is actually edit it and then save this. And now I will go back in time. Wait, which way? I'll just generate a new terrain. And now I'll load the one that was deformed. Okay, this is happy face. And to be honest, I could probably just put it here. I could just put a label box. You can type the name of the save file in. Or I could do a file open dialog. The reason I've not done the file open or file save is very simple, just because I've been using that system for loading animations. And once I load 5 or 6 3D files, it crashes, and I don't know what the problem is yet. So now I'm just happy that I can edit and save and load. That's cool. Maybe I'll look at fog now, as I should be doing. Ashes of Creation. Have I heard of that? Yeah. They need a new Star Wars one. The Star Wars Galaxies was great. That was a long time ago. Then they had a second one that was average. I think they are working on a Star Wars one. But there's not been any news on that. I always like it when it's a familiar world. Lord of the Rings. Although I don't really play them much. So for any would-be streamers right now, I made a thumbnail for this stream, and I'm just loading that onto YouTube. So later, and probably now, it will come up at some point. But how cool is that? To have a little loading system. What's interesting as well is I don't know how loading systems work for Terrain Engine. So I just went very simple, just saved all the data to free text files and then got them back. It's just a little hacking approach. It was, if you see the video at the top right, I was sometimes editing and making some quite nice terrains, and then I made a nice one and I thought I need to now put something in to be able to save it. Sweet. Let's close that down. Is anybody going to be playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? Accumulator, shout out. Yeah, it's fun. I don't know if when you joined, because my chat was gone, but yeah, now we can save the engine and now load it. But the point of this stream was to try and get a fog effect. So I'll probably start with a cheap fog effect first. Linear fog. Linear fog. Let us look at a linear fog effect. For the terrain. How do I approach that? I'm sending vertices. I'll use a switch to turn it off. So the linear fog is just as things get further in the distance, it just fades away. It's not. It's like an old game style kind of fog, but I put that in, and then I'll start adding on to it later on. What game was it? I realised I had Kingdom Come Deliverance, the original, on Epic Store. I think I got it free last year, so I played a bit of that. It seems really good, but I can never play a game when the sequel's about to come out. I can never get into the second one, to the original one. I feel like I'm wasting my time. Okay, so what I need first is I need a button that just turns on fog, and I don't know where to put it. I have different buttons. I know where I'll have it, where the sun color is. So if we search, I don't think you can see the search box, but sun color here. The strength of the sun. The X, Y, and the Z. I think that's something different. The direction of the light. Yeah, that's not it. That's actually not suns, that's for light sources. Let me check on the engine here. Nope. Okay, here it is. Sun brightness. Here, so there's a slider here. IMGUI is the user interface. So I just need a weather panel, really. Where's the end for weather panel? Like fog, lightning, wind direction. IMGUI and terrain controls. Okay, give me an IMGUI panel for fog on and off, and high winds on and off, and another fog on and off. So I'm just telling ChatGPT to write the user interface, because it's so easy. It's like HTML. It's just time. Yeah, I could be wrong because I've not looked at it for a while, but I think there'll be a depth buffer anyway, just because it's a 3D scene. But you do have to, I think you do have to turn it on or define it. I can't remember. You find when you're working on a project, it depends on your knowledge as well. I've not really done, this might be my only 3D project really, and I just said my first, but I just obviously built onto it, which is, you'll see the code's messy in some places. But yeah, I think you turn that on at the start, and because otherwise when you're drawing 3D objects, the GPU doesn't know what to draw in front of the other. Like if you walk in front of a tree, it doesn't know who's in front of who. So I think that's why you need your depth buffer. And probably you understand that as well. Okay, so terrain controls. So now, okay, so what we'll have here is weather controls. And the reason there's an if is because if I press shift, it gets rid of all the user interface. So if we're telling it to draw the user interface, the weather controls will come up. Weather effects. Now I don't have an enable fog. I don't have an enable high winds. And I don't have an enable fog too. So what we will do, so we're going to create a boolean called enable fog equals, we want the fog off. Yeah, we want the fog off to start. Now these are in the wrong location because it means that we'll be setting to false all the time. So if you turned it on, it would come to false every time it draws the user interface. But now at least I know I've got everything I need. I'll copy them. We're in engine.cpp, so we go to engine.header. The header is where you just define everything. Let's look for something. So Boolean values are things you can turn on and off, 1 or 0. So you kind of put them together. This is where you see things are a bit messy. And I just want something that's kind of similar. Normally you just put them all together. Okay, so this is to turn the sky on or off. So I'd put them here. Switches for fog and extra weather effects. Yeah. Now, so what this will turn these to 0 or 1. It will mean, yeah, it switches it. But then you need something in the shader code, which is another language of a code that runs on the graphics card. You need to send that data to the shader code, which I believe is here. I think the physics engine. Yeah, so I believe this code has a few different shaders. And I believe this is what's responsible for rendering the terrain. So I can load the terrain as you saw, but then there's also the skybox that spins, there's the water, and those three objects, those three things are being rendered by different shaders. So we want the fog on the terrain and potentially on the water. So this is what we will edit. And it's going to be a fragment shader. So there's always two shaders, a vertex shader, which is, you know, your triangles, the mesh of the model, the mesh of the mountains, the mesh of the sky, the 3D mesh of the water. But then the fragment shader is the coloring in of the mesh. So that's the color. I'm actually just making sure that's the right shader to edit. Yeah, it is. So now we're in the fragment shader. What we need something here. Let's make it a bit bigger. That corresponds to this information. So when we turn the fog on, we have a button here that indicates a switch that indicates whether the fog is on or off. So normally you might say, what was it, fog 1 or whatever we called it, and you turn it on and off. But in shaders you can't have booleans, so you can't have something that's true or false. So instead you need an integer, which is just a number, and then you would just make the number 1 or 0. So it kind of still works in the same way. And I don't know why you can't have those. There might be a fix somewhere. Yeah, it's really good fun. Like I'm a bit stuck on animation, and I wasn't ready to fix the bug. It was like a 1 or 2 day project, so I've just come on to other things, and now I'm making progress elsewhere. It's just fun, and it obviously makes a better stream as well. So what we need is integer. So it's called a uniform first, which is a variable that on the graphics card that is able to get data from the processor. So it's a uniform, and we can change it just by clicking a button in the user interface. It sends it straight to the graphics card. It's an integer, and we'll give it the same name, which was enable fog. So we'll do a basic fog, and then we'll have another fog, so then we can turn those on or off. And high winds, I don't know what that's going to do. Maybe it just moves the water faster. And also wind would maybe affect the fog. Okay. Now I haven't. I'd probably be overwhelmed. Okay, ChatGPT is crashed, so let me try and prove to myself that I can remember how to code. I need an integer. And what we will do if the fog is turned on, don't do any of that. So this was from ChatGPT, but I don't have on this current shader. I don't have this function, but I do elsewhere. So what we need is fog uniform. And what this will do, this will speak to the graphics card, and it will get the data from what we put in here. So what we need to find is, what name did we create? Enable fog. So this is now the graphics card. It will look for this name on the graphics card shader. I've called it shader pointer, and what it does, it finds this location, and it will give a number, like it's in location 10. So this value here will be location 10, and then we can send the switch value, whether it's turned on or off, to fog uniform location 10. which I believe is done like let's have a look. Uniform 1 int. Let's have a look. GL uniform. So we're sending 1 integer to the fog uniform, which we've retrieved, and we send the value of enable fog, whether it's turned on or off. So that will send a 0 or a 1 to enable fog. I'm going to turn that shader off, just dead code. I use Claude more often these days. What is interesting with that comment is, I mean, the new DeepSeek came out in the last, well, like the last 8 days or something, but the last 4 days it's been wild. And then something else has just come out today from Alibaba, was it? It might be better. And it's just crazy just to how fast it changes. And if you're on X, you see people on the edge of the seats waiting for the newest rendition. And it reminds me of people waiting for the new iOS version. It's just too much. But yeah, I'm down to try it out. Who is Claude by? Is it Meta? I've used almost all of the main ones. Gemini, and I like Grok. So now what we need to do is I need to put something in the shader. If this is, let's just run this and see if the interface even loads, okay? The wind interface and the fog. Actually, what I'll do is I will send this to ChatGPT, and it's just, I'm going to get it to incorporate the linear fog. It's very easy. Actually, we can just add a line at the bottom to do it. We need to first press that. So we might have a new window hiding somewhere. Yeah, we do. Although ironically, it is because the scene is rendered 4 times. It's rendering the shader these buttons 4 times. I can fix that another time. And of course we can test if the load terrain works. Yep. Loaded it and moved it. You see the island. Okay, so what we need is to make sure the fog is getting sent. And I'm going to use ChatGPT for this because it's such a large shader. And I wanted to recommend a few variables. You have to determine where the fog starts and where it ends, and there's a bit of a calculation. But what you do, you just get the final color. Do we have a final color? So this would be the final color of every part of the terrain, and you just blend that final color in with the fog if it's in the distance. If it's not, you don't draw the fog. So it's not too complicated. What I'm also gonna do, what I didn't see on my tutorials is, I think I'll add to the user interface the weather controls where the fog starts and stops as well. Rather than just turning it on and off, we'll put some tools in so we can change it just dynamically. Okay, did I finish anything? For anyone just jumping in, we're just working on adding some fog. Our save and loading is completely working from yesterday. Yesterday I just saved the terrain, now we can load the terrain. And I think ChatGPT's gone crazy with some code. There's some new tool I've not seen before. Well, actually, it looks so clean what it's done. So we will do. Well, that's interesting. So now when ChatGPT gives you large amounts of code, you can edit it rather than copy and paste, and there's actually an editor. I don't know if you guys have seen that. So uniform, pack free, fog color, float. Maybe we should define these as well. Fog color, fog start, fog end. Okay, float. So I think what happens is it's 30 units away, 30 meters away is where it starts, and 50 is where the fog is at its utmost, the fullest, and after that you just can't see. But I don't know, I've never simulated fog. I mean, who has? Like free. So it seems very simple. And which one of these is the final color? It's not this one. Yeah, I need to tidy this code up. If enable fog, let's see if enable fog is on. Yeah, it's the right one. Final color is fog color. Now we don't have a fog color sent, so it won't work. But we can check if we press a button, if it breaks, then it means the button's working. We just need to set a color. I mean, that shader code was just epic. I need to tidy that up. It's quite tricky to get an IntelliSense or formatting for shader code on Visual Studio. But there is, I think you can on VS Code. Yeah, all good, it happens. I do the same sometimes. Let's see if there's any error here. Oh wait. There shouldn't be an if, right? Yeah, because this is, I'm also learning as I go. So I think I just want to get some more of the basics in animation, user interface, and like some text in the game, or at least in the engine. So animation, so almost the basic elements, and then I'll probably refactor the code. And then I'll start to, I might do a bit of 3D modeling. Yeah, no, actually there's a physics engine built in, so I have bullet physics built in. Yeah, and there's also an invisible character, so I can put the character in the world. It's a capsule, so bullet defines it as a capsule. It's like a ball, or it's almost like a ball, and I can roll around the world.
Earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful.
Apparently this approach is wrong. Because if I turn the fog off or on, depending on how it's flipped, it will only trigger this code. I was using it like a button, if the button's pressed, but it wasn't saying that. Yeah, like these. Look, there's no if statement. But I think my code's still not working. That's just another problem. Yeah, I don't know. I think more of a strategy kind of game where you're governing a civilization. I don't want to say Age of Empires, but more that than Skyrim. Actually, I think the problem is that I don't have a fog color, because if that function was to blend it in with a given color, and that color is like non-existent, there's nothing to blend. I just can't remember what the code looked like. Fog color. Yeah, because it's mixing. Here we are. Yeah, that's interesting. There's still so many different types of games to be made. I'm glad a lot of AAA companies in some way are learning some hard lessons at the minute. Companies that have more of a budget are forced to be more creative as well usually. And that's how the innovation happens. Okay, this is running really slow, so maybe I broke the code, yeah. What was the typo that I did? That's what happens when you don't put a semicolon. So does that mean fog was enabled then? It must have been enabled. No, the shader didn't compile. Did it? See, if that was C++ code, it would tell me there was an error. That's a Merc. Always good. How's it going, man? Welcome. Sometimes I have to go to someone's channel. I like to see if I've been there before. I don't think I have. I'll give you a sub anyway. Okay, whoa. Still no terrain. Let's see what error we have. That one. I want to say self-taught, but when you say self-taught, normally somebody brings a product on to say self-taught and I did this, but I guess I'm a self-taught hobbyist. This is like all I've done really. Representing for the self-taught crowd at the minute. What did I break? That's ChatGPT. I hate shader code, I always forget. Vector 3. Maybe that's not necessary. How about you? Yeah, so I was in a different industry and then I came out of that a while ago. But when I was a teen, I really enjoyed HTML, a language called QBasic. I had a book on C, but I got stuck on a book on C because it was before YouTube, right? And so when I didn't understand the chapter 3 or maybe chapter 5 after if statements and loops, and when it came to the function chapter, I didn't understand how to pass parameters to a function, and that was it. You don't go anywhere for help because the book was the help. There was no Cherno. You're right, slot machine software. I'm already a suspicious brother or sister. That's I can put that up there. What language do you use? And how did you become a millionaire? Okay, so that worked, right? Did I break anything here? Let's just see if that works again, then this is going to be an easy error if so. Yeah, back in the day. No, he's putting himself into wealth. I know he's got them little hacks built into every machine. Assembly, yeah, that kind of makes sense with what you're saying. Good for you. Yeah, so this is self-taught C++, as you can see. If you see any errors, don't tell me, because you will never leave the chat room. You'll be here forever. Actually, there's a reasonable chance you've not done any GLSL, but there's a good chance you have. But why is that just stopped brick? So that was working fine. And then all I did was add one line. Ah, wait a minute. Didn't I say that if the fog works, this would break? Okay, so let's start that at 0. I don't think that is the problem, sadly. I think I've just done a mistake there. By the way, I'm on my journey to 500 subscribers, then I can have membership. So if you don't think you'll come back, you're welcome to subscribe. And then just unsubscribe in a month or so. Yeah, I'm glad that wasn't the error. That felt like it was correct. Might be because I don't send it. Yeah, that was the problem. So will it work? At least it's not broke as before. Well, at least I know what that problem was. If I go back to the code, did I define a color for the fog? That might do it. Where are you guys from anyway? Prefer to here in the UK. How did that break? Lost the light. Appreciate it, yeah. Like I've put some time into it, but it is my first 3D project. I should tidy some of this up. It's not often I come to the depths of my shader code. I mean, what is that? Frag color. Yeah, so I'm making the engine. Why doesn't it like frag color? Maybe I've defined that somewhere else. I'm pretty sure it's defined at the top. Yeah. Yeah, so for the first half an hour, I just finished a tool off that I started yesterday, which was just to save the terrain. And then I finished that today, so you can now load the terrain again. And now we just wanted to play about and add some like basic fog effect. But I've had to jump into an old shader that renders the terrain, and it's just quite ugly code. Oh, I guess more for the learning, so to learn. So just for the fun aspect, really. But what did I just change to make it work again? Final color. Oh, wait, that makes sense. Let me just, I have these little tube lights around. I'm just going to charge the one that's just died in the background. There we go. Now let's see if it works. Okay, well those errors are gone. That's for sure. Okay. I mean, that is foggy. So I'm glad it did something, which means we're sending... Actually, what I did was I chose the color of the water to be the instrument. But I think what it needs is the distance from... It needs to know the distance from me. And I don't think I sent that information. But we know like something's happening now. So if I turn off that grid, go with the water. It's funny how it loses its depth, right? I don't think this is going to be hard to fix. And this is... So this is the map, frag position. Would that have been a scope issue? I don't think so, because I think that was quite... I think that was in the parent scope. And it wouldn't have compiled. Yeah. Well, what's funny, it's like the whole bug or feature, right? So... You often make mistakes. And you get ideas. But I didn't have any for that. Okay. But I think it's still shading the water, which is cool. If I move the grid. At least reflecting. So it's taking the fog colour, which is a little bit green and mostly blue, and then mixing it with the final colour. No. The factor might be wrong, so let's just put a custom one. This won't give a fog effect if it works, but it will be different. And then if so, it's just this is wrong. Maybe the fog end. And if this changes it, it just means my numbers are wrong. Yeah, there we go. So now it's like a 50% fog. So if that was going from weaker to stronger, you could call it a terrible fog effect. And it needs to be grey as well, which I think is all numbers about the same. Grey blue. I'm not sure if higher or lower is going to make it darker. Yeah, I appreciate you coming. I've seen you here a few times now. Have a good morning and a good night. I don't know what your time zone is. New Zealand. Have a good day. It's a little bit grayer, but because I left more blue in, it's also took more of a colour, more of a purple. Is that stronger or weaker? We need the light, don't we? But you can see it, so that it's at the same level of fog at every position. It's meant to fade. And you can see how that would give like a weak fog effect once we tweak it. But then after this, I will add. You can layer a few different fog effects. Where closer to the ground and water, there's more fog. You can make it move. I mean, right now it's just like a blanket colour overlay. What I would do is I'll add two tools now that would just change the distance, and then I will log off and sleep, but I'll get that in now. Where was the fog? Fog end and fog start. I think it's because they're uniforms, those numbers are not working. Because I've not sent it. Fog start 20. Let's just see if that works for now. And I'll add the tools that can change where it starts and where it fits right at your feet or a little bit further ahead. And then the colour. So I'm hoping for some kind of fade effect this time. I think I see none. To my eyes, there's none. The purple effect that ruined it is gone. I just wonder what it's doing the maths based on. Does it have my position? It might have the wrong variable. Frag distance. I'm looking for camera or something along those lines. But then that's the wrong shader.
All right.
I was looking at a
Second
tutorial
thought
earlier. I'm
technique
just
is
gonna have
the
a little
exponent-
peek. Let's see. Yeah, we do need the camera. Because it doesn't know where we are, so it can't use those numbers where it starts and where it stops. And I think camera is extracted from the view. Okay, so I've got fog in, and it's not finished, but I've finished the button for loading and saving, and I'm gonna come back to the fog tomorrow. So feel free to subscribe, hit like, and I'll be back whatever time it is tomorrow, minus 5 hours. I'll be starting 5 hours earlier than now. And good chat as well. Good to hang out. So that's me logged off. I'll probably turn the stream off in a minute or two. Where are we? So the view matrix, for anyone still here, I think we can extract the camera position from this. Anything out is something that we're sending to the fragment shader. So we do have frag position. No, but that's not where the camera is. So we need to create an out. Yeah, I'm still here. I don't know what happened. Okay, so here we have the camera position, and then we can say, I don't know if this will work. Send output camera position from view matrix, and then we need in, so you'll get an intuition of how this is working. Frag camera position. So now we're receiving the camera position, and then I can just tell I need to include the camera position into this. Okay. Frag distance. So now it's not the length of position, but the position. So the camera position. Let's check that. Yeah, I don't think the terrain's loaded. If I put that back, bias that out. So that was in and out, which you can't. That was just a typo. And it's 5 minutes to 4 here. I did say I was logging off 10 minutes ago. I don't know what happened. This still might be broke. Yeah. Gotta love shaders and shader errors. So I wonder, I think it's this function that's giving me an error. And this will let us know. But that just look beyond shader code. I think that's more, I think it's just wrong code from ChatGPT. If it draws now, then it means that was the error. Yes. Wait, no, it means that wasn't the error. It means because the vertex shader where that code exists, I didn't comment out, it's still running that code. It's the other part. There's something here. So there was a few errors, but one was having it hard coded in a mix instead of having it dynamic based on this distance. So it's a distance from the camera to the part of the world. The further away it is, the more foggy it would be. But that error should have just made it look bad, but this wasn't working, so I'm not sure if this is going to work. Yeah, it didn't work. But what is frag position? Maybe I don't think I have frag position. Oh, I think frag position might be like a default vec4. Where else do I use that? The terrain height. Yep. It might be the one. They might be defined it as different vectors. So one's a vector 4. No problem. Actually, I said goodbye 10 minutes ago, and then I just kind of stayed on the stream. So yeah, one's a vec3, one's a vec4. So I'm glad that a few people weren't listening because I stuck on. Everyone else left. Which one's a vec4? Frag position. this fixes it, I'll be pleased with myself. But basically it's doing some maths on this. It's taking this from this, but this here has an X, Y and Z property and a W, whereas the other one, this just has an X, Y and Z. So you can't take one from the other. They're not alike. Like you can take 5 from 2, but you can't take 5 from a banana. They don't belong together. But the real frustrations of coding that are hard to persist beyond when you fix it like this and then it still doesn't work. Shaders, it's good fun. I've not really done many tutorials on them. I've got I don't know, I'd say I'm a newbie with shaders, to be honest. But I've dabbled in some intermediate stuff. Okay, it's fixed, so it's working. Is the fog going to work? It's going to work because my thumbnail on YouTube says this is a fog tutorial. There you go. It's working, but it's flipped. So the fog is starting strong, and as it's going further away, it's getting weaker, and it should be the other way around. And as I move, now that is interesting because it's also, so that's some kind of error with the camera position. It doesn't know exactly where I am because it's not consistent. It might be connected to me being at 0, 0, which is this corner. Or it seems to be connected to the way I'm facing. Welcome to linear algebra. It's good fun, right? Now you could send a picture of this to somebody on a Reddit forum and they would know what it was because they've done this 100 times. So the colour of the fog's working. Let's get rid of the grid. So we have dynamic fog. It's official. So if I go up and down, I want to see if it changes. With the camera. What I'm doing is I'm testing which axis makes it change, if any. Like when I rotate it, even standing still but rotating, you see here, if I rotate it, that will start to disappear, the fog. Look, it's going. So it's even determined based on where I'm facing, rather than it should be purely based on distance. So the calculation, there's only probably 2 places where it could have gone wrong. Okay. I'm gonna log off just because of the time, but I could continue to continue to do this because it's really good fun, but you can see I'm tired. Yeah. Let's have a look. It's nice to meet you, man. Feel free to jump in the chat because you can probably open a lot of the C++ stuff and the